All right, Sistas fans, we have the review for Season 6, Episode 8, entitled Uneven Playing Field. Score, 7 out of 10. I think last week was better. I had a great time during the live stream last night. Thanks to everybody. I'm guessing notifications went out because there was a point we had over 400 people in there. And, the first live stream attempt didn't work due to technical difficulties. I had accidentally used Firefox as opposed to Microsoft Edge, and it didn't recognize my microphone. But despite the slip up, got back on there quickly, and we had a good time. We talked for, about an hour or so. Yeah, about an hour or so. So essentially, this episode, like I said, it wasn't as strong as last week. Again, it had a couple moments here and there, but I think we can all agree the highlights of the episode were when Zach and Karen were out at that cafe talking, and then when Zach and Fatima had their conversation over at the house. I know Destin fans are losing it. Oh my God, Danny and Preston are official. I have my thoughts on that. Also, just like the previous couple of weeks, I've already recorded my discussion videos. So various topics like the Andy and Gary conversation, Danny and Preston getting back together, Karen and Zach at the cafe. I've already done like 3 videos on that alone. I do feel like this review is just going to be more to the point. But then again, I'm not going to skim over everything. I'm really going to talk about the points that are relevant because, like I said, this episode, meh, it was good. It was above mid, but I wouldn't call it great. Because I will say, when it comes to the Zach stuff, I agree on some of what he said, but then I don't. I think, like I said, I'm so glad DeVal hopped on Twitter Spaces with me to kind of clear the air. But yeah, if he hadn't done that, I'd still be mad at Zach because there's some things I don't really rock with him and how he handled situations. But like I said, let me, get into the review itself. Now, before I do, please take a moment to hit the thumbs up button to show you like the video. Hit subscribe. It does help the channel. And comment your thoughts on the episode as a whole once, I finish saying what I got to say. All right. First scene. It was good acting wise. Yeah, you could just tell that Fatima's fed up with everything. But the thing is, the closer Andy and Fatima get, the more they rub off on each other. Or should I say, the more Andy like Fatima becomes. Because at this point, I am just sick and tired. And I'm so glad that later in the episode, Zach said the same thing about, I'm not begging you anymore. I don't know how clear I need to make it that I love you and nobody else. Because Fatima keeps making these humongous life decisions based on a spur of the moment emotional outburst without discussing things with her partner first. So I was so glad that Andy talked her off the ledge. Just please talk to Zach first. You two give me hope about true love. But then Gary walks his slimy ass in there. And then pretty much, he wants to have a moment where he's honest because, since you were honest last night, I wanted to be honest as well. And let's be honest here. Oh, wait, hang on. Let's just get to the point here. This was all a show to be petty. That's all it was. Now, I will admit, I was actually quite impressed with Andy because she didn't backtrack. She said, look, what I said last night, yeah, I was high. I had been drinking a little, but now that I sobered up, yeah, I still meant what I said. It's not like she, backtracked saying, or backpedal, no. I was saying things because, no. She meant what she said. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this is good stuff. Kick rocks, Gary. But no. What happens? They have their season 1 exchange where, they have a heated back and forth. And then Gary points out, oh, well, I'll be over there at 8 o'clock. Excuse me? I can tell this is turning you on. It's putting you in the mood. I get off at 9:30. Well, I'll be at your place at 9:30. And I'm like, are we really doing this? Because this fool said, you're not the best I ever had. And Andrea Bonds, you're not the best sex I've had. Gary, if that were true, why did you buy her the penthouse, the diamonds, the clothes / wardrobe, the Rolls Royce? You wouldn't be pulling out all the stops if Andy was giving mid-tier sex. No. She was arguably the best you've had. So why in the world are you doing this? Like, you're not being honest, you're being petty. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, you got Andy who's cheering for Zatima. You have her telling Fatima, hey, you know what? You two give me hope. So you and Zach making it gives me hope that there's real love out there. She had this incredible lesson from Miss Roberta last week. And then the moment Gary turns her on, what does she do? Okay, Daddy, I'll be at the house ready for sex later on. Man, get the hell out of here. And look, I'm not talking about the promo for next week, okay? I saw the end credit promo. I know Gary comes over there. Okay, I'll talk about it briefly. I think it's clear Gary only set it up so he can humiliate her the same way he felt humiliated when she basically went off on him last night. Like, okay, you know what? She says I'm, not her usual height requirement. I'm smaller than the Robin. Yeah, I got this bitch. You know what, Andy? You're not the best I've had. Now let's have sex again tonight. I'll be over there at your place when you get off work. Okay. And then he comes over there. She's all dressed up. Wait, I thought we were having sex. Nope. It was to humiliate her. And he knows, like, what we know from previous interactions she's had with men. Anytime Andy feels humiliated or someone calls her out for her foulness, she just cuts him off completely. This could be truly the end of Andy and Gary until next season, and I'm here for it. Okay, so from there, Gary goes into Hayden's office, and Tamara comes up for some air, and they briefly meet with each other, and then she's like, I'll see you at home. And I'm like, damn, okay, she going home to cook and all. I mean, freak it, bump that annulment. So yeah, Gary ask Hayden, have you looked over the paperwork? And Hayden for some reason doesn't want to look at it. So apparently, here's what we know. 30 days is how long he has to annul the marriage before she could take half. Keep in mind, in Sistas time, 30 days is like 6 seasons. So by like season 12B, that's how long he has. But like I said before, I feel like these two are really going to fall for each other. You can say what you want to. But the strange part is, apparently all Gary found was that her past was clean aside from one situation from her high school years. And for everybody asking, wait, Tamara with her line of work, she has a clean record? Folks, she works with Madam, so it's pretty clear that with Madam's legal connections, anything Tamara got into was easily wiped away. So that's why her record is clean. All right. So from there, oh yeah, Gary gives them tips like to wash your nasty hands and whatnot. So yeah. Okay. I guess I can briefly talk about, and look, this is the one thing I want to just briefly run by. In the episode, we have Sabrina coming over to the apartment, which again, I don't know why she even bothered coming over there. Yeah, she just wanted to come over there to talk with Calvin and Maurice. Just say she went over to, I went to tell Q he needs to fix this. And it's like, I ain't gonna lie, Calvin was trying to defend Sabrina, but I would have been like Maurice. And it's like, you just wasted your time. Yeah, you're right. I mean, so why did you stop by? You could have just called or something. Seriously. I know I joke about this, but I always think about like gas. Like, we don't know the distance that some of these people live from each other. And it's like, I mean, on the way over from the airport, like let's say if Sabrina was going back to her apartment, she could have been like, on the phone with Calvin and like, tell Maurice I tried to talk with Q, but it didn't work. So I'm just going to go home. That's it. And then, of course, Maurice, if you do anything, the Q is going to come back to you. And I'm like, well, not really if he gets the right people to take care of things, even though this dumbass went to the hospital room to confront Q and basically said, I'm going to kill you, sucker. All right. Then from there, Maurice goes to apparently get his edges fixed up. But we do know he goes over to the airport to confront Q, which I feel like, why did they bother getting this fool out of jail again? Seriously, why? He basically confronts him, and he's getting a ride from some girl, and he has a moment where he just rattles off a list of reasons that this girl shouldn't mess with Q. And look, I ain't gonna lie. The only thing that made this scene worth watching was when this fool Maurice is hanging on to the car while this woman is pulling off. That was the only reason I did get a good chuckle out of it. But yeah, before leaving the apartment, Sabrina gets a call from Andy, who calls Sabrina to call Danny to say, hey, let's all meet up over at Karen's apartment. And she's okay, but let's go meet up over there. And then she tells Calvin, I gotta go. And then this fool, oh wow, I thought you were going to stay for a little while so we can just hang out or something. And oh wow, you're going to be with that guy. And it's like, look, there's a lot going on, Calvin. I ain't got time for your shit. Yeah, I'm sorry. And then she leaves. And I'm like, yeah, let's just please stop with this. Look, Anthony Dalton is a good actor. I've seen him in a number of other projects, but he don't need to be on Sistas no more. The Calvin has no reason to be on this show. Same with Maurice. But at least Maurice has the excuse of, well, we do know eventually he and Sabrina get their jobs back. But still, it's like, no, there's no need for Calvin to be here. These two are, no, they're not going to end up together again. All right, so from there, we go over to, let's see. I want to talk about the Karen and Zach thing, but I talked about that in 3 other videos. I'll skip over that. Let's go over to Destin. Personally, I don't like the fact that they're apparently making it official. Didn't I do a video like, yeah, Danny and Preston make it official based on the promo? I feel like this was rushed because I'm still in the, and look, like I said in the video where I just talk about this, plot point by itself. Did Preston ever officially call off his engagement to Mindy? We know that he left her at the hotel while he was shacking up with Danny, and then he mentioned that she was on her way back to Texas. But I don't recall saying, I got the ring back, the engagement is off. I don't remember any of that. Danny gets home from work. She comes into the apartment. Preston, shirtless, is cooking dinner. And it smells good because, like Zach said in season 1, this man knows how, this white boy uses seasoning. So it's just one of those things where Danny does agree to, let's try to make it work between us, so they officially start dating. Because Preston at first, like, I'll stay for a couple of days. Like, that man isn't coming back. Hey, I don't know. I can stay longer if you need me to. So then Danny's like, let's, make it official. But then she says something that has me going, oh, really? As long as you learned your lesson. And then Preston is all like, yeah, about the boundaries and everything. And I'm thinking, Danny, after all the men you've had running through this apartment, Logan and you really didn't do anything, but still, Logan counts. He was there. Then you had the recent situation with Q. You had El Fuego. You had that one bartender for the gay bar. Then you had Jonah up in there twice. The second time was unintentional. And after running around with all these men, it's Preston who has to make sure he's learned his lesson. Which is another reason why I feel Tyler just force-fed us the Mindy situation, just so Preston would have a stain on his reputation, because it looks incredibly bad for him to have a fiance, yet he's laying up with another woman, regardless of how understanding his fiance is to the situation at hand. And on top of that, I'm just sitting here like, what about the communication aspect? I mean, yeah, Preston boundaries and everything, but these two need to learn how to communicate more, especially Danny. And I mean, think about it this way. Yeah, it's a great first step. I did smile when Preston was like, my dinner, bump that. We going out. Let's get dressed up and we're going to dinner. I did like how Danny lit up when he said that. So I did like that, but I just don't feel like this scene was earned. Yes, it was a great way to kind of go back to the dynamic these two had in season 1 and early season 2. But at the same time, I just don't feel like it's going to work, because we do know Danny's going to have another love interest in the future. So yeah. As a scene for Destin fans, I know they were eating it up, but for me, I'm like, I don't feel like I don't think we deserve to get there yet. All right, now we go to one of my favorite scenes where Zach and Karen are in the cafe. First of all, Ebony was just, oh man, it's funny how attractive she has been to me for the last 3 episodes, but the moment that delusion kicked in, I'm like, okay, she lost me. All right, so they're sitting there. And they're reminiscing about some of their early dates. I think like the second date. Apparently, Karen was like, oh, this is the same place we went to on our second date. You were so nervous. Well, I was just trying to get you to like me. So I was nervous as hell. But at the same time, he called Karen out for like being so, oh, you said you weren't nervous, but I know you were just putting on a front. And then apparently they reminisced about another time where they were on the roof of her apartment building but got caught in the rain, and she was all scared and whatnot because of the lightning. So he saw through her facade at that point. But she said, it was at that moment that I knew I would love you and be with you forever. But then Zach is like, well, it's funny how life works out. What do you mean? Because well, I'm with Zatima now and you're with the preacher. Yeah, well, this is where the conversation shifts. Karen is holding on to the way Zach reacted to her quote unquote death. And as a result, she is unable to see the truth even when it is right in front of her. Zach can say it every which way he wants to. He made it clear as crystal. Hey, Karen, I'm with Fatima. And personally, I really hope, or I wished that we could actually have Zach stop using the L word with Karen. Because no matter how he tries to spin it, I'm in love with Fatima, but I love you, Karen. Or I love you, Karen, but I'm not in love with you. Karen only hears I love you, and from there, she's going to run with it. And the fact that she threw Preacher under the bus, me and him ain't together. I don't love him nearly as much as I love you, Zach. I'm like, well, damn, Karen. Say how you really feel. And yet she has the nerve to be upset because he has a side piece because, well, you're chasing after Zach and, I couldn't wait around forever. In her mind, you could tell Karen was at her wit's end. But I will admit her poker face was pretty good in this episode. She was throwing out all the stops. Okay, I'm going to reminisce with Zach about all the good times we had. I'm going to pour my heart out. And then when she's like, oh, do you love her more than you love me? Zach fucked up. He didn't say yes. He said it's different. And my retort would have been, it's like, do you love her more than you love me? Or no, there's no way you can love her the same way you love me, Zach. Or I know you love me more than you love her. Karen, yes. Did I ever put a ring on your finger? That would have sealed the deal right there. But the thing was, he goes on to say, me and Fatima are going to get married and start our own family. And this is when Zach went for the jugular. Karen was, oh, okay, so you're just going to act like me and this baby don't exist? And Zach said for the first time what I've been dying for him to say, Karen, I don't even know if that baby's mine. The look on her face, the eye roll, the bend over to get her purse. Karen knows good and hell well that baby is not Zach's. What happened to, oh, I know who the baby's father is. The doctor told me. And out of respect, I want to tell the father first. If Zach was the father, Karen would have said it right there on the spot. Keep in mind, the last time the baby was even brought up, Karen told Zach to his face at his house, you're the father. She ain't say it this time because she know good and hell well she lying. So then she goes on to say, I'm going to leave the door unlocked for you. This is after she had said, I want you to take me home and make love to me. You're the only man I want, inside of me. I want to be, on top of me and this, that, and the third. Karen's like, I'm not doing that. I mean, Zach is like, I'm not doing that. And that just shows you Karen is trying to push all of Zach's buttons, but he ain't budging. And that just goes to show that regardless of his success and whatnot, she still sees him as the low down bike riding cheater that he was back in the early season. Well, season 1 and pre-Sistas. But Zach isn't that dude anymore. Yes, he still has some of his old ways, but he's trying to be a better person. Karen just doesn't want to accept it. Hell, you can even tell where she kind of sneakily threw some shade when she reminisced. Oh, this is when we had our second date. Remember, you were broke as hell? And I'm like, yeah, there she go. But yeah, Zach held his ground. And one of my favorite bits, I'll leave the door unlocked for you. You're going to let the wrong person in. And then she left. I'll see you later. So then we skip over to Zach and Fatima. And kind of going back to where I said I kind of see both sides of it. I didn't fully agree with everything Zach said in this episode. On the one hand, I gotta admit, if you were in Karen's position, or if I were in Karen's position, I couldn't fully blame her for thinking that Zach had or an ex had feelings for me still, because notice how different Zach is acting. The day prior in the Sistas timeline, oh, he was so happy. He was holding on to Karen and he was all excited over the phone with her. But then the following day, he's all distant and kind of cold. Then with Fatima, acting like she doesn't exist, telling other people, well, she's just going to have to get over it. and then calling her out for the Ian stuff. Now, remember, I was on team Fatima, like, you know what? Yeah, she did some foul stuff. No. At first, when the news broke about Fatima feeling some kind of way about Zach, I'm like, you know what? It's a damn shame if she's mad at Zach for responding the way he did to Karen after all she did with Ian. But then once we saw everything that transpired between Karen and Zach, it's like what Ian and Fatima did wasn't nowhere near close to this. And I still feel that way. Because despite Zach making good points, I did like how he got Fatima to see, are you tripping because you think I still love Karen, or are you upset because you were humiliated? And I love the fact that he was able to isolate that and get her to see, you know what, I was tripping. But even further than that, despite the fact that Fatima had her feelings about Ian the moment, you know, that she learned about the cancer and whatnot, Zach still looks bad because guess what? Fatima never had Ian kiss her on the cheek twice. These two didn't really embrace like that. I think they hugged, you know, at the coffee shop, but that was it. She wasn't all like, oh, Ian, I'll pay for your medical bills and whatnot. No, that's Zach. I'll pay for the salon and whatnot. Also, why the hell is he even trying to help her get back on her feet if he is, you know, under the impression he might not be the father of that kid? I mean, I get DeVal said the whole thing about Zach going to therapy and trying to make amends, but you don't got to do all that. So, yeah, Fatima, aside from not having the ring on her finger, has all, and Zach already called it. Yeah, I know you got your bags packed and they're upstairs at the stairway, right? Nope, they're in the car already. She got to stop that shit. My favorite exchange from this conversation was when Zach's like, so you're going to put the ring on? Put it back on my finger. No. I put the ring on your finger once. You decided to take it off. You're the one who took it off. So it's up to you as to whether or not you're going to put it back on your finger. I love that bit. So then they agree to, like, you know, just work it out. And then they have a little quickie on the couch, which I found hilarious. The transition, Tyler Perry, this was amazing. You go from Zach and Fatima doing the do on their couch, and then you go over to Karen on her couch waiting for Zach to come over, and he's not coming over, which was hilarious. So you have Andy coming in first, and then Karen just doesn't want to hear any sort of, you know, Zach naysay. She tries to flip the script with Gary, but Andy's like, you know what, I ain't listening to this shit. We talking about Zach. I mean, when this chick said we had a beautiful date and he's coming over, then you have Danny and Sabrina come over. And honestly, if I were Danny, I wouldn't even bother coming over here with these fools, because yesterday you called, had me, you know, crying and everything, thinking Karen's dead and she's okay. Me and Preston are finally getting together and we're going out for a date. So is Karen okay? She okay? I ain't got time for this foolishness. So I wouldn't have even come over there if I were Danny. So from there, the girls are like, you know, what the hell's going on? And then, yeah, she had the baby daddy thing. And then Sabrina and Danny both called out different names. And then they think, you know, Andy said something. Somebody actually had a good point. Somebody said that the reason that Karen said the door would be unlocked and whatnot is because Zach would tell Fatima and then Fatima would tell Andy. Interesting theory. And also, Andy can't catch a break. Everybody thinks she's running her mouth. It's like, oh, well, I know that. Oh, okay, so Andy told you. And it's like, I didn't say shit. And I feel bad for her. So then from there, you know, the drill. Zach's coming over for sex. And then when Danny is saying it out loud, but then notices Fatima coming in, the way she, like, grabbed Andy by the leg to get her attention was hilarious. Even though I have no earthly idea why Fatima came over, the transition from Zach and Fatima's place to Fatima coming over to Karen's makes no sense. Does Zach know that Fatima popped up over there? Did he pass out after they had sex? What's going on? Is Fatima just here to kind of claim her territory? I don't know. But regardless, that's all I gotta say about the episode. Pretty good stuff. Like and subscribe, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.